Most people are playing a game they don't even know they're in. The simulation hypothesis, you've probably heard of it. Elon Musk talks about it. MIT physicists publish papers on it. Oxford philosopher Nick Bostrom built an entire mathematical argument around it. The argument is simple and it's devastating. If it is possible to create a simulated reality, and we are already doing it with primitive technology, then statistically, the odds are almost certain that we are already inside one. But here's what nobody is telling you. It doesn't matter if it's a simulation. What matters is, are you winning it? Because whether this is base reality or a constructed experience, the rules are real, the consequences are real, the pain is real, the joy is real, and most people are running around reacting to the game instead of learning how to actually play it. So today, I'm going to give you the framework, the one that changes how you see every single day you have left in this game. And at the end, I'm going to give you the one move, the single decision architecture, that separates the players who win from the ones who exit the game wondering what happened. Let's do this. The spawn problem. When you enter the game, you don't get a tutorial that actually prepares you. You get childhood, and childhood gives you the basics: how to eat, how to talk, how to survive the early levels. But it doesn't tell you what the game is actually about. It doesn't hand you your character sheet. It doesn't show you your stats, your hidden abilities, your built-in weaknesses, or what you're genuinely capable of at maximum output. The developers hid all of that on purpose, and this is the first place most players fall behind permanently. They spend decades assuming that the character they built in the first 20 years is the final version. They take the defaults, they accept the preloaded beliefs, the fears their environment installed, the identity that their family and culture handed them before they had the cognitive capacity to question any of it. That's not your character, that's the demo version. The real game starts when you decide to actually read your own code. And quantum mechanics gives us a framework for understanding why this matters so much. At the subatomic level, the deepest level of physical reality that science can currently measure, particles exist in a state of pure potential until they are observed. The act of observation collapses that potential into a single outcome. What this tells us about consciousness is something that the most advanced physicists on Earth are still debating, but the behavioral implication is undeniable. How you observe yourself, how you define your own character, directly shapes what becomes possible for you inside the game. Most players never update their self-observation. They're still running a character they built at age 14 in environments that no longer exist. So the first move to winning this game is brutal self-honesty, not self-criticism, self-assessment. Pull up your actual stats, not the ones you wish you had, not the ones other people told you that you had, the real ones. What drains your character? What powers it up? Where you actually perform at a high level and where you've been faking it for years. This level of self-knowledge is not comfortable, but it is the foundation of everything. The background programs. Here's something the game never tells you. Your character is running dozens of programs simultaneously that you did not consciously install. Think about having 47 browser tabs open at once, every unresolved conflict, every suppressed emotion, every goal you said you were going to pursue and didn't, every relationship wound you never processed, every identity belief you inherited and never examined. All of it is running. All of it is consuming processing power, and your character is operating at maybe 30 or 40% of its actual capacity because of it. Behavioral science calls these cognitive load and unfinished gestalts. The military calls them operational distractions. I call them background programs, and the way the game is designed, most players never even realize how many they're running because the developers turned off the notification system by default. The most effective way to close these programs is not willpower, it's not discipline, it's processing, meaning you have to actually go back into those files, open them, resolve them, and close them properly. This is what therapy does at its best. This is what certain contemplative practices do. This is what honest confrontational journaling does. You are literally clearing RAM so your character can operate at the level it was actually built for. And when you do that, the shift is not subtle. People around you notice before you do. The NPC Trap. The developers built something into this game that I think is the single most dangerous mechanic in it: non-playable character conversion. If you've played video games, you know what an NPC is. It's a character that moves through the game world on a script. It responds to triggers. It repeats patterns. It has the appearance of agency, but zero actual choice. And in this game, the Earth game, there is a very sophisticated system designed to convert real players into NPCs without them ever realizing it happened. Here is how it works. The game floods your character's attention with low-resolution stimulation, social media feeds engineered by behavioral scientists to be maximally addictive. News cycles designed to keep your nervous system in a permanent state of low-grade threat response. Entertainment that gives your brain the neurochemical experience of adventure and meaning without requiring any actual growth. And content, endless content, that gives you the feeling of learning without ever making you apply anything. When your character is inside that loop, you feel like you're engaging with the world. You feel like you're informed. You feel like you're connected, but your agency is gone. You are reacting. You are being played by the game instead of playing it. The tell is simple. Ask yourself, when did you last do something that scared you in the direction of growth? When did you last make a decision that the game did not hand you? When did you last build something, create something, pursue something that came entirely from your own internal signal rather than external pressure or algorithm-fed suggestion? If you can't answer that quickly, your character may have drifted into NPC territory. The exit from the NPC trap is also simple but not easy. You have to start making deliberate choices. You have to design your own quests instead of accepting the ones the game auto-assigns. This is what the highest performing characters across all of recorded human history have done. They did not wait for the game to tell them what to pursue. They decided. They built. They moved. The simulation science. So let's talk about what the actual science says, because this is not philosophy. This is physics. In 2022, a paper published in the American Journal of Physics outlined the computational constraints that would be required to simulate a conscious experience indistinguishable from base reality. The conclusion was not that it's impossible. The conclusion was that the processing requirements are finite, meaning it could be done. And if it could be done, the Bostrom argument holds. We are almost certainly inside a simulated construct, but what changes when you accept that? Everything and nothing. The physics still works, gravity still holds, consequences are still real, but your relationship to the game shifts in a fundamental way. Because if this is a constructed experience, then the rules are not absolute truth. They are parameters. And parameters, by definition, can be understood, worked with, and in some cases, transcended. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, said that he regarded consciousness as fundamental and matter as derivative from consciousness, not the other way around. The simulation framing just gives us a modern language for an ancient idea. The map is not the territory. The game is not the ultimate reality. You, the player, are not the character. And when you start to genuinely feel the difference between the player and the character, something in how you operate changes permanently. You stop being so attached to the character's outcomes. You start making longer-term decisions. You start absorbing hits differently. You develop what the Stoics called equanimity and what modern psychologists call psychological flexibility, the ability to hold difficult experiences without being defined or destroyed by them. This is one of the most powerful upgrades available in the game, and almost nobody installs it. The 5 pillars. There are 5 mechanics in this game that no amount of external optimization will ever replace. And I want your brain to lock these in, because these are the actual scoring criteria. Number 1 is genuine connection, not followers, not network size, not social capital accumulation. I mean the kind of relationship where another character actually knows who you are, the real version, and chooses to stay. These relationships are the highest value asset in the game. The research on this is overwhelming. The Harvard study of adult development ran for over 80 years, and the single strongest predictor of late game character health and happiness was the quality of close relationships, not wealth, not status, relationships. Number two is meaningful production. Your character needs to build things, create things, contribute things that would not exist without you. This is not about grinding for coins. This is about the deep psychological mechanic of purpose. Characters who produce meaningful work score higher across almost every measurable dimension of well being, and the game is designed so that this production, when it's aligned with your actual character stats, feels effortless compared to forcing your character into a role it wasn't built for. Number three is mental sovereignty. How your character thinks is the operating system everything else runs on. And this is the one upgrade the game most aggressively tries to prevent you from making, because a character with genuine mental sovereignty is almost impossible to manipulate into NPC territory. Cognitive behavioral training, stoic practice, meditation, deep reading. These are the tools. Use them. Number four is physical optimization. Your hardware matters. Sleep, movement, nutrition. These are not wellness trends. They are performance variables. A degraded physical system runs degraded cognitive and emotional programs. The game will hand you 10,000 reasons to neglect your hardware. The players who maintain it consistently operate at a different level than those who don't. Number five is self-authorship. This is the meta skill, the ability to decide who your character is deliberately rather than letting the game decide for you, your values, your standards, your definition of winning. If you don't write this story, someone or something else will write it for you, and they will not write it in your favor. The secret scoring system. Here's what I want to leave you with, because this is the part that took me the longest to understand, and it's the part that I think matters the most. The game has a hidden scoring system, and it is not measuring what most people think it's measuring. It is not measuring your net worth. It is not measuring your status. It is not measuring how many people knew your name or how impressive your character's resume looked at exit. It is measuring the gap between who you were capable of being and who you actually chose to become. It is measuring how often you made decisions from love rather than fear, how often you extended yourself toward another character in genuine service rather than strategic calculation, how much of your real self you were willing to show to the game instead of the curated version, how well you used the hits, the losses, the failures, the seasons of the game that felt like they were breaking your character to become something more than you were before they arrived. The players who score highest at exit almost universally report the same thing in their final interviews. They wish they had worried less about the scoreboards that the game shows you and paid more attention to the ones it keeps hidden. The simulation science doesn't change this, it deepens it, because if consciousness is the fundamental substrate, if awareness itself is what the game is actually made of, then what you do with your awareness is the whole game. Not what you accumulate, not what you achieve, what you become, and what you leave behind in the characters whose lives intersected with yours. That's the framework, and now you have it. The question is what you do with it from this moment forward, because most people who watch this will think about it for a while and then walk straight back into the default settings. You don't have to do that. You are not your character's history. You are the player, and the player can always make a different choice. Throughout history, the characters who changed the game were never the ones who had the easiest spawn points. They were the ones who understood the rules deeply enough to rewrite them. They weren't the loudest. They were the most intentional. That's how you win this game, and I think you already knew that, which is probably why you're still here. One love.